Okay, so we got Birds in Bloom. This is the February-March 2021 edition. And on the back, we'll just go ahead and do that first. It says, "Many eyes go through the meadow, but few see the flowers in it." Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is called the Lytton Rose. Very pretty. Kind of reminds me of a peony, though. Just saying. There's only really one big section that I want to share with you in this book. Let me make sure I'm right. Yep. And it's called Kickstart to Spring. Look at that adorable child learning how to grow. Now, what this reminded me of was late Joey from Joey and Rory, because when she would start planting, it was always in the winter time. It says, "Save money, plant sooner, and choose from a wider variety of flowers and veggies when you sow the seeds indoors." And this is by Luke Miller. Okay. It says you can grow seedlings in eggshells for a nutrient boost. Now look at that. Okay. And it says it's easy to cure an early case of garden fever. Start your seeds indoors. Grow your own seedlings also saves money and gives you the opportunity to enjoy unusual varieties. It's kind of fun to start things indoors, says Richard Jaron, a recently retired horticulturist at Iowa State University. If you're looking for a specific variety, you may not find it at your greenhouse, so you can buy the seed and start it yourself. Now you want to select your seeds. Deciding what to grow from the seed up is to you, by Richard notes, from some things that aren't worth the bother. Begonias, for example, have tiny seeds that are hard to germinate and slow to mature. It's much easier to buy those plants at the garden center. Fortunately, there are plenty and readily available candidates, including flowers like marigolds, zinnias, petunias, impatiens, vegetables, and tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, kale, and broccoli. What are your top picks? Well, some top picks would be common blooms and veggies that are easy to start inside. Your flowers would be aster, bachelor button, caledonia, that's Calendula, cosmos, phlox, salvia, and sunflowers. Vegetables, beans, broccoli, cauliflower, cucumber, eggplant, lettuce, and squash. For those who live in hot climates, zones 8 through 9, for example, you may be able to start seeds as early as December. Northern gardeners, like those who grow in zones 3 or 4, should wait until March or April to start most seeds, depending on the plant's germination period. Don't fret if you have to wait a little longer. Extra time offers the perfect opportunity to order seeds, preferably as early as possible to get the best selection. Seed packets often include recommendations on when to plant indoors based on your average last frost date. Richard cautions not to start growing too early. Something like cucumbers or squash, they grow quickly, so to start these inside 3 to 4 weeks before they can go outdoors, he says. Tomatoes need 5 to 6 weeks indoors, and peppers require 7 to 8 weeks. And it says you can teach the children how flowers and veggies grow by planting the seeds. This is page 3839. Getting started, Richard starts vining vegetables in pea pots, which are biodegradable cells made of compost peat moss that can be set directly in the ground without disturbing the roots. And for other plants, he recommends plastic trays that have been washed with a warm soapy water and disinfected with 10% bleach solution to prevent the spreading disease. Now you're going to fill the tray with commercial seed starting peat moss and vermiculate with the sow of the seed, the depth recommended on the packet. Now for the seed to germinate, it needs to seed to soil contact. Richard says, and make sure that they're not too crowded. You want to properly space out your seedlings. It's easier to transplant later. They show how to do newspaper planting cups. Now I found this rather unusual. How to use a newspaper to make biodegradable planting cups. You're going to cut 4 layers of newspaper into a 7-inch square. Then you're going to fold it in thirds, turn and fold again to make 9 square fold. Then you're going to angle fold each corner on the side and staple it. Repeat the process on the opposite side. When the seedlings are ready to transplant, slice a few holes in the paper and plant the entire cup. This won't disturb your roots and the pots will break down. And see how they do the beautiful little newspaper cups there? Look at that. How awesome is that? And this is page 40. Heating up. The warmth and humidity aid the germination. You need to keep the seed consistency moist, Richard says. After sowing, he waters the tray before stretching clear plastic food wrap across the top and securing it with tape. Now, some trays are sold with clear plastic domes to create this greenhouse effect. He then places it by heating a vent or use the heating mat specifically for the plants. As soon as the seedlings come up, take off the plastic and put the tray under the lights and let the germination medium dry out. Not completely dry out, but just enough to dry out, then water again, Richard says. Light is very important. If you put the seedlings in a window, even a sunny window, they're not going to get enough light. So they stretch and they get up very splendidly, Richard says. I typically use an ordinary fluorescent light with a 40-watt tube. The light needs to be very close to the seedlings when they come up, typically 4 to 6 inches. Moving out. Once the seedlings develop a second set of true leaves, Richard transplants them into cell packs, filling them with potting mix. I just use a knife and dig them up really carefully by hand, he says. When it's time to take the plants outside, see the packet on the seeds for guidance. Start by acclimating them to the conditions. This process is called hardening off, and it can be done by placing plants outside in the shade for a few days, gradually moving them to increase the amount of light they receive every few days. I like planting in the morning or the evening, not during the heat of the day. That's when the plants might suffer a little bit, Richard says. Water them well and they should be okay. If seedlings appear a bit pale, he suggests adding a water-soluble fertilizer when watering and wait for your plants to flourish. Luke Miller grows a number of plants from seed, including spaghetti squash, and later has to protect his plants from health-conscious squirrels looking to boost their fiber intake. Notice that when you do the easy-to-plant compostable pots, they're usually made of wood fibers, manure, peat, or coconut husk, and their convenient solution. Look for them online or at the local garden center. And that's page 41. So it's a very informative book. If you want to get a jump start on your gardening, or if you love birds, this is your book you want to pick up. So make sure you get that Birds in Bloom February-March 2021 issue, because you want some of those love birds right there. Next magazine in a few minutes.